The Grow My Cleaning Company podcast helps owners of cleaning companies just like you to grow your company and yourself so you can make more money and finally get the time and money freedom that probably got you into this business. Discover how to automate and create systems that allow you to grow like crazy without losing control. If you dig the show and want to show some love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It really helps. Enjoy the show. Well, here we are, the end of the podcast, and you made it. Great job. I've got a little bonus for you for sticking through with me, but like I mentioned before, if you got value out of this podcast and you want to show a little love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever the heck you're listening to this thing. Share with a friend, share the love. And as a special thank you for those of you that stuck with me to the end, how about I give you my personal phone number so we can text? It's a great way for me to get to know you, your business, your goals personally. So shoot me a text now, 602-932-6431. That's 602-932-6431. I am the only one who responds to these texts, and I will personally respond to everyone I possibly can as long as this number is manned. Don't know how long we're going to keep this at the end of the podcast, so grab it now. 602-932-6431. Give me a text. Say hey. Can't wait to meet you.
Hey, Cleaning Nation. This is Jered Robinson. So I am Mike's marketer, and he is off getting trained today. So he's in his masterminds and learning more so that he can be better at what he does. And so he's asked me to step in here and to do a podcast for him. So this is what you're getting today. You're getting me. So I started to think about the different subjects that I could talk about. And being Mike's marketer, what do? I'm full-time in his ad accounts. I'm full-time doing all this, spending his money and getting leads and all that kind of stuff. And so we've talked a lot about strategies and stuff when it comes to growing your cleaning company using paid marketing. And so I thought I would take a different route today and talk about some of the techniques that can be used when you suddenly lose a lot of money. Now, the reason I feel somewhat qualified to have this conversation is that being Mike's marketer, I probably spend more money than Mike does a month of his own money. And so it's me that's spending all of his money in what we're doing. And so have we experienced growth? Heck yes, we have. Have we had months where we don't? Yep. Have we had months where we lose money? Of course. It's called being a business owner. And so for us to be able to grow, we have to take risks. And if we never fail in what we do, if we never make a mistake, we're just lucky. Business owners fail. Business owners make mistakes. Business owners lose money. It's part of what being entrepreneurial is. If you don't want to lose money, if you want to keep it as safe as possible, you can go work for your dad or your mom. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, though it sounded kind of that way. I'm just saying it literally is probably the most safest way to secure a job that has a payment and you can move forward. You just go work for your dad's company or mom's company and boom, you just have a job. And it doesn't really matter if you're great because they want to keep everything smooth for Thanksgiving. And so life moves on. But being an entrepreneur, when you start your own business, you wake up and it's self-motivating. That is going to have times that you lose money. So I want to have this podcast sort of go over the principles of what do we do when we lose revenue? What happens? What's our first step? What's our knee-jerk reaction to losing revenue? So I kind of broke it into 3 steps that we should do. And one of the first things, and this can happen right now, this second, so this is what's awesome. You don't need to lose money for this step to take place, is that you have to mentally prepare yourself for this. And this, I think, is where a lot of the early business owners make their mistakes from what I can see within the program, is that they, when we talk to owners of cleaning companies that are new and brand new and our coaches and are reaching out and doing breakthrough calls with them, we find that the people who are brand new are the most, I guess, eager would be the word, or excited, or almost invincible would be that is the best word. And they feel invincible. They have a sense about them where they're confident in themselves. They're confident in what they can do. And they have looked and have felt like they have studied and are ready to go. So they're like, let's go. I'm excited. I got this. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm willing to just jump in both feet. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And our coaches, when they just kind of talk among themselves, it's kind of tongue in cheek and like, great, good luck. It's going to be awesome. Sounds like you got it all taken care of. Go out there and do it. because they know, yeah, they just haven't learned the lessons yet. They haven't been hit by the rocks yet. They haven't had the door slammed in their face yet. They haven't had a payroll due that they couldn't quite make yet. And so the invincible feeling is still there. It's almost like when you're a football team and you're still in the tunnel, like, yeah, you're jacked, you're hyped. But as soon as you run out there and you start to get on the line against some huge dude, and that huge dude puts you on your back, that's when you realize, oh, I'm not a god. I am going to make mistakes. And so part of being a business owner is how we adapt to those mistakes. So for us, we love talking to people on the phones or the people who've been in business for a while, because when you can say to them, oh, you've fallen on your back before, they say, yes, I have. And you can say, great, let's talk about the strategies to overcome that. So step one in preparing yourself to lose revenue is to have the mindset that you're going to lose revenue at some point as a business owner, whether that's in a day, whether that's in a month, whether that's in a year, you are going to lose revenue. So the way that you can prepare yourself, and I want to share just a quick example. So when I was, this is actually nothing to do with money, but an example of being prepared. When I was our fourth child, my wife wanted to have at home, and I was terrified of the idea of having a child at home. And so I went through the scenarios of my own research of what I would do, what scared me about having a child at home. Well, it was like, what if this happens? What if the midwives aren't able to make it? What if, the baby's breached, or what if, and so I was able to go through and do the research and prepare myself for how I would react if those scenarios came up, so that when they came up, I didn't have to hang out in the emotion of, oh my gosh, this terrible thing happened, and now I'm feeling all the emotions for the first time right now. I was instead almost processing or feeling those emotions ahead of time. So that way, when they did, and if they did happen, I could go into action as opposed to go into my hole and curl up in a ball. So one of the things that I was prepared for was, what if our midwives, for whatever reason, aren't there? Well, long story short, labor happened a little quick, and our midwives were not able to make it for the baby delivery. And so it was young Jered Robinson that delivered the baby. And what was great about this experience is that I was able to come into it calm. I was able to come into it ready, because I had processed the emotion of what would happen. So of course I was afraid. Of course I was scared. Of course I didn't want to be there. Of course I would change places with anyone in the world, but I couldn't. And so I was there, and I was present and ready. And so for you and yourself, the mindset side of this is that you need to know and be okay with it. It's not that you're a failure. It's not that you're the worst. It's not, there is going to be a ton of shoulda, coulda, wouldas in your business owning career. So when it happens, we don't need to process that then. When it happens, that's the time to solve it. So let's process this now. What are some things in your business that could go wrong, that are going right now and going well, but what are some things that could go wrong? This helps you prevent them from going wrong. So if you're like, well, I got this loose screw, well, great, let's go in there and tighten it so we don't have to worry about it. But there's also going to be screws you don't see. And so we need to be able to kind of look and feel and be ready for that moment. So I can't emphasize that enough. I really do feel like the more prepared you are to take on a hard challenge that gets brought to you, the better. The next thing, so once we have our mindset, once we're all set, the next thing that we want to take on, or the next thing that we need to be kind of prepared for with a sudden loss of revenue, is that we need to be able to clearly state the problem. So I just met with someone. So part of what I do within Grow My Cleaning Company is that I'm able to meet with owners who are looking to get traffic to their stuff. So as they're in here building funnels and landing pages and working on their messaging and advertisings that they're going to be posting out, they get an opportunity to run it past me. And I met with someone just last week, and this person was really frustrated because they had felt like they had spent a lot of time building something, and then they gave it to someone else for a cheap price tag, and that person kind of botched their stuff. So what happened is they were like, you know what, I've done enough of this. I want to start working on something else. I'm just going to pay someone else to do this for me, and they'll hand it back to me. It'll be perfect. And then I'll be able to meet with Jered and we'll get traffic going. Well, when it came time for us to meet, they were not in that situation. And the reason for that is that person had botched it. And so they were frustrated and they were hanging out in this really frustrated state. And when I said to this owner, what is it that's broken about this advertising funnel that you would build? Where is the problem? Her response was, I don't know. I don't know. And so had we not had this conversation, I have a lot of faith in her as an owner. I'm 100% sure she would have worked through this. But at that time, she was curled up in a state of frustration and mad about what had been dealt to her, that was what had happened. And it wasn't until she was able to clearly state the problem. So we started looking at it. I just said, like, let's start from the beginning. And we went through it. And within 10 minutes, we knew exactly where the problem was. And so let me share the live example with you. She said, I can't figure this out. I've spent so much time. I just feel like I'm going backwards. I feel like it's going to take me 20 years to get this funnel up. And I can't do it. I don't have enough time. I'm a single mom. I'm trying to do this. I can't. So we sat there for 10 minutes. We went through her stuff. And then this is what that problem that I just described became this problem instead. My domain is not connected to my website. Now, which one to you sounds more severe? It's going to take me 20 years to solve this problem. My life is over. There's no way I could do this. I don't have enough time. Or my domain is not connected to my website. The solution to my domain is not connected to my website is that you contact GoDaddy, which is where her domain was, and you say, hey, can you help me connect my domain? And their live support will help you do it. Within a matter of minutes, this problem that was so big and so heavy was down to a 10-minute solution. And that's because we clearly stated the problem. It is natural as a human that we, especially when we're tired, especially when we're frustrated, especially when we're pushing something up a mountain, that we say, oh, my life is over. I can't do this anymore. And we're really violating rules 1 and 2 of what we do when we have a sudden loss of revenue. 1 being kind of premeditating our emotions and experiencing those emotions ahead of time so that when that happens, we don't have to sit in that hole. And number 2 is clearly stating what our issue is. So because of this, I said to her, hey, I want you to get on GoDaddy and solve this problem. And I want you to, and then we just laid out, here's the next step for you. Here's the next step for you. Here's the next step for you. Don't get ahead of yourself. Just take this a step at a time. And if you get stuck in any of these steps, now that I know what your problem is too, I can come in and help you in any of these steps. Well, that was on Tuesday and it's now Friday and I have not heard a word from her, which makes me believe she has solved her problems. And so within a phone call, we were able to get her to clearly state her problem. So let's look at your own business at this time. There are things that go wrong and there are things that seem big. And we can just clearly say, like, for example, oh my gosh, my Google ad has stopped working. My Google ad has stopped working is a big deal. But why did it stop working? Did the algorithm change? Did your ad fatigue? Did your account get disapproved? Because each one of those things I just said change what you're going to do when that takes place. And so clearly stating a problem allows you to know what action takes place. And you will find as long as you're moving forward, it doesn't really matter how long it takes you to solve a problem because you will feel like you're moving forward. If you are stagnant, that's where you start to spiral. When it's like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to kind of sit in my emotions and stir. That's when owning a cleaning company sucks. But when you're making small steps forward by clearly stating your problem, you're going to find that there's a lot more joy in owning a cleaning company. Okay, so these are 2 scenarios. The step 1 and step 2 are 2 scenarios that are like, well, okay, those are solvable issues. What if there's something I can't control? I just, wake up one day, look at my phone, and my biggest contract pulled out on me. Well, again, I would have you walk through those scenarios already. Number 1, hopefully we've processed our emotion and what we would do if that was the case. Number 2 is we would want to clearly state the problem. Why did our person leave? But if we can't control that, agency, they leave, then what? Well, then we move into number 3. Number 3 is we need to find a way to either increase our current income by diversifying what we're currently doing, or we need to cut expenses. So that's when we want to move into the number 3 zone of when we start to feel like, or it is happening, that we are losing a lot of revenue, is that we have to look internally at ourselves and say, okay, I've processed this emotion. I've stated the problem. I can see what it is. And unfortunately, this is a human agency issue. I can't control it. So what can I control? Well, I can control how much income I can bring in. So I lost a client. I need to replace a client. And that's where we put our efforts into replacing a client. Well, what's our efforts to replace? Well, that's when it's like, what can we do to get in front of more people? How can we take this? And that's where we start to move ourselves forward in the right direction. If we just panic and throw everything up in the air and throw spaghetti against the wall, and that's where we're not really moving forward. We're in a spiraling state. If you're in a state where you're trying to get someone to replace that contract and you can't find anyone to replace that contract, you are just going and going and going, and it's just no, and my gosh, I got payroll coming up and this isn't it. Then this is where we fall into kind of the next level, which is that you as the business owner have no ceiling on your income. You have the potential of making a lot of money doing what you do. You also have a lot of potential of taking on a lot of debt or falling short to be able to make payments for stuff. So immediately when you recognize that you are in a spot that you cannot pay something, that a debt is coming your way, you have to look at your own life first and what you are paying for and cut expenses. This is another one that we sometimes overlook. For example, your Netflix. You can live without Netflix. You can live without some of these subscriptions that you pay monthly for, that they may be really nice, they may be really convenient, but if you cut some of that stuff off, you will find, because if you're going to take on debt, let's just say you're going to take on debt to pay payroll. I wouldn't recommend this, but sometimes this is where this falls into. You don't want to take on debt and then be paying for your Netflix. You want to take your Netflix money and put it towards your debt so that you avoid the interest that's going to compile on you on that end. Now, another great way to do this, and this is just a hack for owners of cleaning companies, to have your clients prepay. So if you can get in front of your clients and have them prepay, that's going to be really useful for you. Just be aware, be very aware that when someone prepays and you use that to pay debt, that you aren't money ahead at that scenario. You do need to continue to find more business, and you need to use the money that they're giving you not only to pay your payroll, but to use it to get more clients so that you can pay payroll in the future. So by focusing in and cutting expenses, now there's going to be business expenses that you can cut. There can be people in your life that are doing things that make it, your virtual assistants, for example, are making your life easier. But those are the people that you have to push aside and make room so that you can get in there and use that money to pay down the debts that you have acquired. Now, this is a completely bummer episode to be talking about. A lot of us, we can avoid what this is. I'm just speaking to those that this happens. And like I said, it's extremely common and you just work through it. It happens. It has nothing to do with you as a business owner. You just work through it. So the best way to be prepared for it is to go through steps 1 and 2. So the point of this episode and what I want you to take home is I need you to think about some of the bigger problems or potential problems in your business. And I want you to start putting together your emotions. I want you to start feeling those emotions of what you would feel like in that scenario. The anxiety, the frantic, the worry, oh my gosh, if I lost my biggest client tomorrow, what would I need to do? And if you premeditate this and feel this, you'll find that if and when it happens, you'll be able to jump into action so much quicker and with so much more of a calm, steady hand than you would be had it blindsided you. So 1 and 2 are so important. Number 3 is just a more of a, hey, if this happens, these are some good techniques for you. So hopefully you have found some value in this podcast. Hopefully you can, this is something that you can apply to in your own business and get forward. As someone who works with a lot of cleaning company owners, I can tell you this right now, losing money is very, very common. However, it's those who work through that see success. And it's those, and I'm telling you this right now, any owner of a cleaning company that has made a lot of money without making mistakes or losing money is just lucky. and they're going to make mistakes. They just haven't made them yet. So every time you make a mistake, you're patching a spot that's not going to get scratched again. And so this is what you truly want, is that you want to be able to show up to the battlefield of owning a business with the scars of war on you, instead of a brand new, baby skin person showing up to war. That's going to hurt. So it's a positive thing when this stuff happens. It's going to shape you as a business owner. Just be prepared and ready, because ultimately, what do we all want? We do want to make that money. All right. If you have found value in this and you think to yourself, hey, I would really like to work with these guys up and grow my cleaning company, we do breakthrough calls where you can talk to our coaches. They're free. And you can just go to growmycleaningcompany.com. There's a masterclass there that you can watch that I highly recommend. It's called the 5 shifts, I think, the 5 shifts that every cleaning company needs. And so you can watch that and get those 5 shifts. And then from there, you can get invited to jump on a call with us. So I'll catch you guys next one. We'll see you later, Clean Nation.
Well, here we are, the end of the podcast, and you made it. Great job. I've got a little bonus for you for sticking through with me, but like I mentioned before, if you got value out of this podcast and you want to show a little love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever the heck you're listening to this thing. Share with a friend, share the love. And as a special thank you for those of you that stuck with me to the end, how about I give you my personal phone number so we can text? It's a great way for me to get to know you, your business, your goals personally. So shoot me a text now, 602-932-6431. 602-932-6431. I am the only one who responds to these texts, and I will personally respond to everyone I possibly can as long as this number is manned. Don't know how long we're going to keep this at the end of the podcast, so grab it now. 602-932-6431. Give me a text. Say hey. Can't wait to meet you.